Good morning everyone, hope you're all well, and it is 6:15 in the morning. You join me on the Mall, looking down at a lovely sight. Union flags. And I'm going to turn you round in a sec for one of our main focal points during this tour, which is the Queen Victoria Memorial. You can see Queen Victoria there up on her pedestal. The Victoria Memorial is a monument to Queen Victoria located at the end of the Mall in London, and it's by sculptor Sir Thomas Brock. Designed in 1901, it was unveiled on the 16th of May 1911, though it was not completed until 1924. It was the centrepiece of an ambitious urban planning scheme which included the creation of the Queen's Gardens, to a design by Aston Webb, and the refacing of Buckingham Palace, which stands behind the memorial, was by the same architect. I've walked you around the side. Its fountain is empty at the moment. You get a good gist of the architectural splendour of this one. This was beautifully restored in 2011. When I was a young boy, Queen Victoria was given a new nose, which does still stand out somewhat, but it stood out a lot more back in those days because it was pure white. She had to have a new nose caused by damage from pigeons pooing on her. Bless her, poor old Queen Victoria. But she was not amused. The fresco that runs around the sides is quite beautiful. What's that up on Queen Victoria's shoulder? Oh, it's on the orb, I beg your pardon. You can see a newer nose. Victoria Regina, Imperatrix, Empress. There's its dates in Roman numerals. Even the backs of the statues in bronze are very impressive too. We shall go back down the stairs. Give you a walk around this, and then you'll get some nice views of Buckingham Palace and its history. It hasn't always been called Buckingham Palace, and it hasn't always been as palatial as it is now. When the fountain's going, the water comes out of this fellow's mouth. And the reason I got here so early is because usually at a reasonable hour this place is absolutely packed. A fair bit to do in the area this morning. I like to give you a wide variety of content, so I thought I'd bring us up this end of London. My dad tells me that, and he was a London cabbie, so he would know a little bit more about it than I do, because he was always around this area. Just going to check my wallet is still in place. Yep. My dad told me that when the new nose went on, it was so white that they panicked and tried all different things to try and get it to blend in. And in the end, they smeared natural yogurt on it, which worked to a degree. This very iconic view of Buckingham Palace. We will get a bit closer and you'll get a history of that. Give you a view of this fresco here. Oh yeah, Queen Victoria wouldn't have liked that. She's got her jugs out, that one. The thing of Queen Victoria, we are not amused, is a kind of a tableau, but she was quite often amused. She was, of course, the widow of Windsor when she lost Prince Albert. She went into her widow's weeds, wore black, and never came out of it. But she was, at times, quite a jolly person as well. I shared an image not too long ago, or a little video snippet not too long ago, of Queen Victoria Very early piece of footage actually. Queen Victoria smiling. She had her favourites, of course. John Brown, the Gilly. Some people think that she was secretly married to him and that they had a child, but this one's the gift of New Zealand. Whether they were married or not, that's a matter of conjecture. But it's 99.9% certain that they didn't have a child, because when she died, her doctor obviously had to do certain things, and it was discovered that she had a prolapsed uterus after the birth of 9 children, and very little treatment in those days for gynecology, and particularly for a queen that most people couldn't even touch. The prolapsed uterus would have made sexual intercourse extremely painful or downright impossible. So this is Buckingham Palace, of course, which I shall give you a brief history of now before we get closer to it. Buckingham Palace is, of course, as the royal residence in London, and it's the administrative headquarters of the monarch of the United Kingdom, often referred to as by the royal family as the office. Originally known as Buckingham House, the building at the core of today's palace was a large townhouse built for the Duke of Buckingham and Normanby in 1703. On the site that had been in private ownership for at least 150 years. It was acquired by King George III in 1761 as a private residence for Queen Charlotte and became known as the Queen's House. During the 19th century it was enlarged by architects John Nash and Edward Blore, who constructed 3 wings around the centre courtyard of Buckingham Palace, and it became the London residence of the British monarch on the accession of Queen Victoria in 1837. The last major structural additions were made in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, including the famous east frontage from which we've seen so many royal appearances, which contains the balcony on which the royal family traditionally appear to greet crowds. A German bomb destroyed the palace chapel during the Second World War, which was just over there. The King's Gallery was built on the site and opened to the public in 1962 to exhibit works of art from the royal collection. The original 19th century interior designs, many of which survive, include a widespread use of brightly coloured sagliola and blue and pink and lapis. On the advice of Charles Long, King Edward VII oversaw a partial redecoration in a bell opaque cream and gold scheme. Many smaller reception rooms are furnished in the Chinese Regency style, with furniture and fittings bought from the Royal Pavilion at Brighton and from Carlton House. The palace has 775 rooms, and the large garden is the largest private garden in London. The staterooms, used for official and state entertaining, are open to the public each year for most of August and September, and on some days in the winter and spring. Unfortunately, when you go to those tours, which I will do for my own enjoyment one day, you can't take pictures or video inside Buckingham Palace. Right, so you'll join me over the road for some closer views. Here we are at its impressive gates with George V, (1911). That's when this impressive frontage was added to it, which does indeed play a very integral role in state occasions of both celebration and mourning, and most famously the Second World War. Her Majesty the Queen, Diamond Jubilee, a 60 km path for London. Jubilee Walkway Trust. Diamond Jubilee 1952 to 2012. That's impressive, isn't it? At the end of this video you'll see pictures, old pictures of the palace in its various stages of existence, from Buckingham House to Buckingham Palace and then the renovations. Bromsgrove Guild, Bromsgrove, Worcestershire. And there is that famous balcony. And as I say, some of the most famous things are the Second World War, when the war ended and thousands upon thousands of people gathered at these gates and behind me shouting, "We want the King, we want the King." And the King had to come out on several occasions because they called for him so much. And Winston Churchill came out onto the balcony, which was the first time a Prime Minister had ever been granted that honour of coming out onto the royal balcony. It's getting a little bit busier now. Now, to end off our little video here, you'll see images, paintings, portraits of Buckingham House and then Buckingham Palace as it was of its various stages of existence. So I hope you're all going to enjoy that. And after that, our next ones will be around St James's Palace, which is just behind me down the road. And as promised, I would show you images of the house and then palace as it would become during the various stages of its existence. And the first houses on the site, which is a period of 1624 to 1761. And this is an engraving of Buckingham House in 1710. During the reign of King George III, it would become known as the Queen's House. King George III purchased it, and it became the residence of his consort, Queen Charlotte. Poor mad King George, as he's known. The house in 1819 by William Westall. And Queen Victoria's reign, 1837 to 1901, and this is when it became known as Buckingham Palace. This is Buckingham Palace in circa 1837, showing Marble Arch at the left. A ceremonial entrance, Marble Arch was moved next to Hyde Park to make way for the new East Wing in 1847. The balcony of Buckingham Palace is one of the most famous in the world. The first recorded balcony appearance took place in 1851, when Queen Victoria stepped onto it during the celebrations for the opening of the Great Exhibition of 1851. And here is our first photograph of a royal balcony appearance. This is Queen Victoria on the balcony of Buckingham Palace to mark the celebration of her grandson Prince George's marriage to Princess Mary of Teck in 1893. Prince George and Mary of Teck would become King George V and Queen Mary. And this is the early 20th century period of 1901 to 1945, and then a now comparison shot for you, the top one showing what it was like and the bottom one very much a modern image showing what it's like now. The East Wing public facade enclosing the courtyard was built between 1847 and 1850, and it was remodelled to its present form in 1913. And some iconic and famous images for you now. This is the royal family following King George VI's coronation. In the front, on the left, is a young Princess Elizabeth, who would become Queen Elizabeth II, and next to her is her sister, Princess Margaret. To the extreme left you have Queen Elizabeth, who would become Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother. In the centre you have Queen Mary, and she basically trained Queen Elizabeth II up to be the queen that she became. And of course, to the extreme right, pretty obvious by the large crown, is King George VI. And this is that famous image I told you about on VE Day, when so many people went to Buckingham Palace and kept shouting, "We want the king, we want the king," and the king and the royal family had to keep going in and coming back out again. Such was the calls for them to be seen on the balcony. Celebrating VE Day on the balcony of Buckingham Palace are, left to right, Princess Elizabeth, who would become Queen Elizabeth II, Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and His Majesty King George VI, and to the far right is Princess Margaret. And what a lot of people don't know is directly under the forecourt of Buckingham Palace runs one of London's lost or covered over rivers, the River Tyburn, which makes its way through some pretty affluent areas of London, including underneath Buckingham Palace. And here it is, covered over with its culvert. It's part river and part sewer. And the River Tyburn then from Buckingham Palace makes its way towards past Westminster and comes out of the Thames here. And we got to enjoy Buckingham Palace in my part of the video when it was early in the morning and not too busy at all. But here you see it packed with crowds, and this is for the Sunday parade, something that you're going to be seeing soon. The English do ceremonial very well, and you'll get to enjoy that. So I hope you've all enjoyed this little historical snippet. And to end us off, well, I hope you all enjoyed our little tour of Buckingham Palace and the Queen Victoria Memorial. And to end this video off, something nice just coming past us now. Beautiful horses. And off they trundle on their extremely well drilled and very shiny way. hope you all enjoyed that little show, which was nice. And it's lovely to see the Mall lined with Union flags. And for our next video, you'll join me just on the left over there at St James's Palace, or around the area there. So I hope you all enjoy that one too, and I'll catch you all in the next one.